March 1st, 2025. Well, I guess you have to say that Trump and Zelensky had quite a dust up, didn't they? uh, so I think it's an interesting development in this whole situation. I mean, Trump was promoting this idea of this minerals deal, which I discussed in the previous video, and of course, I think that the whole situation is, of course, I can see all around the picture of Trump's policies is he's always looking for ways to make more money for the United States. I mean, he's a businessman and he's always looking at ways to make money. And so the thought would be that make a deal with the Ukrainians for the basically it's mostly strategic minerals. I don't know so much rare earths as I understand, but at any rate, they're useful things: titanium, lithium, and so forth, and valuable items, many others. And so and so he thought he had a deal. Apparently, they'd worked out a deal, but the catch with it is that they're negotiating a deal to end the war under terms which, of course, Zelensky and the Ukrainians don't want to accept. Their goal has all along been to recapture all of the territory that was in the original Ukrainian Soviet Republic, or whatever they called it back in the old days, which then became the legally recognized territory internationally of Ukraine as an independent country. And of course that's what obviously the deal that Trump is pushing cannot really restore. There's no way, if they're going to make a deal now with which would to end the war, in which Russia is going to give up probably any of the territory they've really captured. They're actually demanding more than what they've captured as part of the deal, and I guess with the threat that if you don't agree to it, then we're going to continue to try to capture it. And overall, the Russians have been pretty much on the offensive. I think as of the last maybe month, they've kind of slowed up a bit. But then again, you have to look at the weather conditions and some of these offensives, do run in cycles of logistics and so forth. So and there's also rotations of troops and that. So it's hard to know. I mean, like at Tourette's right now in the last couple of days, it looks like the Ukrainians have been running a bit of a counteroffensive that's had a little bit of success there, whereas Russia's having a bit of success against the Kursk region and also down in the southern Zaporizhia region. They seem to be moving up there a little bit. So, it depends on where you are, you know. But overall, I think that it's a slow-moving Russian advance, not very rapidly moving, but it is basically trending in that way. And so anyhow, so from that point of view, I guess but Zelensky wants to accomplish something that probably just not feasible. And so that's kind of why I think he took the stance he did, but it was a very poor place to do it. Because given Trump's temperament and so forth, that just totally blew up on him. And I think it maybe even offended probably everybody but hardcore Democrats, the way he behaved there, and maybe the true Ukrainian supporters. So, at any rate, I mean, I don't know if I would recommend handling. I might have said, well, maybe we'll just adjourn this and we'll have a discussion later on it. I see where you're coming from, but we have another point of view and we'll talk about it later and get the press out of there and then have it out with them. But at any rate, I don't know where this goes from here because essentially, apparently, the deal wasn't signed. Even though I guess Ukraine would have signed it if it hadn't blown up that bad and Trump hadn't have kicked him out, I guess. It never got to that point to find out. And of course, Trump was saying, no, you're out of here, dude. And so, because the basic point is, everything you can see about Ukraine is they really want us to get into the war with them. You can see that that's what they really want. I mean, because they know they can't win with their own manpower. They need, and they don't have a serious air force and so forth. And of course, that bigger war would probably escalate into a complete catastrophe for the world if it happened. So anyhow, so that's where we are on that one, and we'll have to see what's coming next. But at any rate, of course, if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and you can click the bell for notifications, or you can follow me on Rumble. Yeah, so that's kind of my basic take on it. I think it was a big blunder on Zelensky's part. And remember, right now, I mean, although we had a big appropriation. Everybody's debating on the amount of money. I think the number is really somewhere in the 181 billion range. Is what that seems to be what most people that don't have a bias. Trump has got it escalated to 350 in his mind, and Zelensky think it's only 100. But depends on a lot of things. One commentator suggested that Trump was thinking in terms of replacement costs for all the equipment we gave him, whereas maybe the lower number is the actual current value. I don't know if that's true or not, but like it's used equipment, so maybe it has a depreciation or something. Anyway, so that's kind of the situation for now. And the other aspect of it is that the Russian position, as I understand, they did finally have a working group meeting in Turkey, and as I understand, the Russian demands now are that the Ukrainians must not only surrender all those four oblasts, including territory across the river on the west side of the Dnieper River, but also they want their army to be reduced to no more than 85,000 personnel, and they want to have no missiles longer range than I forget, was it 40 miles or 40 kilometers? But at any rate, because we may have translated into 60 kilometers or whatever into 40 miles. At any rate, but the point of that is that basically no ATACMS or long-range strike weapons, right? And that would be a massive cut in the size of the Ukrainian military. So that would seem to be completely unacceptable to them. They don't even think with the full military they have now, they have an adequate security guarantee. And now Russia wants them to be primarily disarmed. And of course, Russia wouldn't want to accept a deal, I don't think, in which the Ukrainians have a rebuilt air force and all these strike missiles and everything. I mean, I think that wouldn't go very well with them either. So what I think is, to me, in a lot of ways, I think Trump may be kind of trying to carry out a mission impossible between two fighting groups that simply don't want to make a deal because they both have their own objective and they haven't achieved it yet. One which probably can't be achieved, and the other one will take some time. And of course, that puts Trump in an interesting position. Is he really prepared to simply not provide any more aid to Ukraine and let them get by with whatever they can get from the Europeans? I mean, I don't think Europe has enough in military industry and capability to really provide them with what they would need in order to actually be able to effectively hold out, let alone repel the Russians. So, and that's kind of where I see this at the moment. You're kind of in a zone of, because a lot of the assumption, we don't know what the real situation is, of course, but all the things I follow, I think that the Russians are in fairly reasonable position. Now, some people, particularly Western media, try to present the idea that Russia's in such economic straits that the country's just about to collapse. And so that if you just hold out for a little bit more, they'll collapse and the game will be over. But I'm somewhat skeptical that's the case. If that is the real perception on the part of the Kremlin, that they are in that situation, then Trump's proposal might eventually be accepted simply as a way to get out of the trap that they sort of got themselves in with the invasion 3 years ago. But if not, then they're probably fully prepared to just continue to push ahead, and that doesn't look too good for the peace prospects. So that's kind of basically where I see it at the moment. We haven't really made a whole lot more progress. Now, the thing that actually created the ruckus on Friday in the White House isn't something that in itself the Ukrainians should be that upset about. It seems like that Trump's position is largely that by having the U.S. having significant economic interest and companies operating to try to extract these minerals, and I guess it'd be a financial split between us, our interest in the Ukrainian. Now, the actual deals, I'm not sure. That would be something that would give us an interest there, where the Russians would see that as kind of an obstacle, without actually placing it as a military threat. And so, in other words, that Russians could be able to accept that, where a deal where we're saying, well, we're going to back up a bunch of NATO nations peacekeepers there with American forces in the event anything goes wrong. And here's the other problem in my mind. Who says it isn't the Ukrainians that won't open fire rather than the Russians? I mean, as I say, I think they want to drag us into a conflict. I think they really want to expel the Russians. And they know they can't do it themselves. So therefore, and that may not be a situation we want to put ourselves in. Okay. At any rate, so that's kind of the way I see this thing. It's kind of, well, the Democrats will, of course, make much hay of it as they can. Of course, I'm mainly seeing, conservative sources, and they seem to be backing Trump up all the way. I'm pretty sure the Democrats are going the other way, which is typical. But of course, they're the ones that got us in this mess in the first place. On one side, I would have to say a little bit of sympathy for the Ukrainians in this sense, that this whole conflict, originally was started largely going back to the beginnings, 2014 and prior, that the U.S., CIA, non-governmental groups that are backed by USAID, the State Department, had really been trying to stir up, I think, this Ukrainian nationalism and support it, which led to the coup in 2014, which then led to, Russian rebellions, and then the actual Russian troops going in and taking Crimea, and then Russia backing up the rebellious areas, and all that stuff that went on during that period, which only led to the war. And so, from the Ukrainian point of view, I think they may feel that they were kind of put up to be the bludgeon against Russia, and now maybe they're going to be left in the lurch. Of course, I'd point out South Vietnam, well, they got left in the lurch, and I guess Afghanistan kind of got left in the lurch. So, these things happen. I don't know that we just don't know what's going to happen next. I tend to think, ultimately, I still suspect Ukraine's going to have to come back and kind of apologize and make up with Trump and try to get things back on track. And then we'll see how much luck we really have getting the Russians to agree to what we want. But that's kind of my general take on the thing. So at any rate, that's kind of about it for now. I just thought I'd kind of, that's my assessment of it all. We'll have to wait. It looks like this is going to get delayed a little bit, and then we'll see what happens next. So I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble as always, and my social media accounts addresses are listed below. And of course, I post from time to time on there as well on more brief topics than this. So all for now.